same strains that created dinosaurs. And they are horrifying. That's why I said the redwood test was a success. There's going to be horrible things, horrible things that are going to be created by us. Some will eat you. Some are a lot less merciful than that. Some will melt you. And some will take parts of you away that you didn't know you had. And some things will irreparably change you in ways that you weren't aware was possible. So, there's that information.
So, 3 days have obviously passed by, and the game hasn't seen any major updates. No recode, no nothing. So I guess what was being passed around was simply just a rumor. A clip taken out of context, and that's pretty well that. However, shortly after, I will take note that the game's creator went live on Twitch showcasing some of the Recode's features, like the day-night cycle, and some strange artwork implying humans were on the island, and one of them met a bad fate. I've got a lot of stuff to show you guys and talk to you about with the Recode, because things were shown, and it gets pretty interesting because I also want to run something past you, and that's dinosaurs with human consciousness. And I don't just mean dinosaurs that act like humans, I mean actual human consciousness being transferred into prehistoric creatures. I know it's a really weird concept, but that's the chapter of the book that we're on right now, for theories at least. So the very first thing I want to talk to you guys about is this image right here. This was shown by the game's creator Dondi on stream as a teaser. No real context, no real anything. All we can see is there's a human skull right in the center, and well, that's pretty much that. If you examine it a little bit closer, you can see clearly the skull has been crushed, and that's a footprint that it's in. Definitely a footprint, or something crushed someone, okay? Someone got stepped on, something happened, and it just wasn't a good time. Now, maybe, just maybe, that's not the case. Maybe it's not a footprint. Maybe the person died and the dinosaur walked there, just happened to walk there, but I don't know. Otherwise, there doesn't really seem like too much more is going on in this image. I can't really even identify the creature that would have made this footprint. I see a V pattern, which to me signifies a large predatory dinosaur. However, at the same time, it's not the whole image. This isn't the full image, obviously. This is just a section of an image that he wanted us to see. He didn't want to show us everything, so there's not really much we can do about it. Anyways, enough about that boring stuff. I want to know what you guys thought about that in the comment section, though. What might have been the cause of that footprint? Without the whole thing being visible, we unfortunately won't know until they release that. But we do have this right here, which is part of the Recode, and all the footage you're going to see here is part of the Recode. This is the new day and night cycle with the new lighting and all that fancy stuff. Some of the foliage is also going to be new because they have a lot of stuff custom mapped in and stuff and created for the Isle specifically, and not marketplace assets. But there is one thing I'm going to have to run past you real quick in just a little bit, and we're gonna talk about it. Now, obviously it's sped up, so it's going to have its own little buggy stuff and weird things, but you get the general idea. We're moving into some more of the Recode's lighting. I also want to take note of the stars and the clouds. Everything seems to be overhauled, and lighting is a very important part in both night vision, as a mechanic we currently have with the creatures, and the sense system, because the footprints glow right now. So I'm wondering what they're going to do with the sense system, seeing as they've got a brand new lighting system and weather effects and everything put in. It also seems things in the distance have better rendering. You can see everything is basically clear, and we don't have any obstructions or weird glitchy stuff. It just, in general, looks really freaking good. Like, that's just the way that I see it right now. You can see all the grass and everything on the ground too, and all the stuff that's on the ground is still a work in progress, obviously, and We're going to talk about the map it's on in just a moment, because this is the Anthomnia island map. Now, this gives me a very strong Ark vibe because of the plants and the structures of the plants and stuff like that. It's like one of the beginner zones, but this is on the Anthomnia map right now, and I don't know what they're doing with that map. I thought they were trashing it for the new Hope Island map, and apparently not. I don't know, but I get a really strong Ark vibe, even though it's obviously not inspired after Ark. I also want to make a note here that I can see some strange structures in the distance that are rendered in, but they're not. It's weird because on the dev editor they load like blocks, unless they're loading the whole map here, but like objects are spawning in up here that I don't know if they're placeholders or if they're like custom human object things. I don't know. Now this is where things get really, really interesting. Because, well, look at the trees. Those are some big, custom, nice, beautiful looking trees. Plant life is something that's going to be really, really important in the Isle. And there are also plants and trees and all kinds of other nasty greens that can kill you because they're man-made. And they don't kill you in the normal, oh, I'm going to poison you. Something weird happens with them. I don't know if you guys remember this specific image right here or not, but there's a couple of them kicking around that we're going to take a look at in a moment. But for you to understand what these things are and the environmental changes that they have in the Isle currently for the Recode that have been teased, well, you need to know what these behemoth things are, because these are man-made monsters that are in tree form. So I listen to the game's creator tell you what this is.
There are plants in this game that are derived from the same strains that created dinosaurs. And they are horrifying. That's why I said the redwood test was a success. There is going to be horrible things, horrible things that are going to be created by us. Some will eat you. Some are a lot less merciful than that. Some will melt you, and some will take parts of you away that you didn't know you had. And some things will irreparably change you in ways that you weren't aware was possible. So, there's that information.
I don't know about you, but that doesn't sound like a good time. Things that can change you, take parts of you that you didn't know existed, and other things. I mean, these are some pretty intense trees, and we've looked at these in a previous video. Now, the reason I'm bringing these up is because I wonder if they have access to these right now. I wonder if they've been secretly modeled and are present in the Recode. Probably not. It might be a stretch, but just for comparison, this is a hypospino, and then there's a human right there underneath them. And then obviously, well, you got the tree, the freaking tree, and it's a hulking monster, and it's not, you don't take a chainsaw to this, you take a blowtorch, or it might eat the blowtorch, actually. You don't mess with this. It's just really interesting to me that they've started working on even larger trees. And the redwood test, I assume, was just a test to see how bigger trees perform in the Isle. Because, I mean, they still have a baseline they need to work with. They need to work with a certain height limit and all kinds of stuff, and FPS and all that, and making sure the game's going to run good on your system, or maybe console, who knows, maybe they'll add console support someday. I see the thousands of comments, okay? Like, I know you want console support. I don't know anything about console support. I've asked Don, and he's like, maybe not, don't know. It's kind of messing around with a lot of stuff right now. We're kind of making the game. We're not really concerned about that stuff. But you get the idea. I'm just curious to know if they have prototypes of this already in the Recode because of how secretive they're being. We've just got some extra images here of the biomes, I guess, or whatever you want to call them, and the jungles and all that, and how things look in the game from the Recode perspective. And I mean, these are looking pretty freaking good. I mean, not in the distance, you see the floating rock, but this is all in development stuff. It's still things, they need to be fine-tuned, okay? They're not perfect. And it's going to take a while for them to become perfect, obviously. Now, on top of all this, they've been working on the Rex and some other select creatures. And actually, they've given the Rex an overhaul, so he has a new bite animation. Now, this is obviously in the Recode client. They're not going to update the Isle with the current code structures that they have and what they've changed to throw this animation in. I don't think we're going to see this before the Recode at all. It's just too many technical limitations, and I mean, who knows? Maybe their game engine right now, as it stands, is limited. I mean, the Recode, it's not just fixing a couple things, like it's literally remaking the game. They're remaking the Isle, and they're not going to charge us for it. Like they're actually giving us, pretty well in my mind, a brand new game. You know, does that make sense to you? Maybe it does. I don't know. I do think it's kind of interesting, though, that they're making all of these changes and updating these creatures that are currently in the game, because it's really strongly implying that they're working on large carnivores. So they might be working on the new Spino. I'm sure you've seen the new Spino. And I mean, the systems that you see here can be reminiscent too of what you're going to see in the Recode as far as the possibility. I mean, some of you, I'm sure, are game developers or coders, or you just understand this stuff, so you can see what's happening on a technical point of view. You can see the rig animations and what's possible, what's not. So I mean, I'm sure there are spoilers right there for anyone that can understand rigging or how this stuff works. Is, you know, if they added a specific point, maybe that specific point is for a specific reason. You know, there's things that you're gonna see if you understand game development. They've even given this guy a brand new crouch animation, and it's not even a crouch anymore, because the current Rex's crouch looks dumb. It's so stupid. Like, it shouldn't completely crouch down. It should just hunch down and get ready to violently assault you. I mean, you guys literally just saw the new crouch. This is the old one. This is the old disgusting, it's nasty crouch. Like it looks unnatural. I don't think a T-Rex would hunch down like this and try to get you. I think it would take the more Jurassic Parky feely, just this right here. Then that's terrifying. You know it's honed in on you and it's ready to ambush. So I'm glad they're doing that. So I guess really the only question left is, what else are they doing to creatures behind closed doors? Because I mean, you know, there's stuff happening that they're not showing us on streams. You know, there's stuff that's happening that they just haven't shown us in general. I mean, I've seen things. You haven't seen things, but you know, I've seen things. I can't say anything. Biting my tongue. Oh boy. Anyways, I got a couple final notes here for you, and this is an image that Don shared on Discord, looking all nice, fine, and dandy. This is the Rex in the middle of what appears to be a jungle-type biome or something. There's some vines hanging down from the trees, which are really nice, and just in general, it's a well-posed screenshot. I think it's just a really nice screenshot. They also teased Isle merch, which is, I know, it's something that's been asked for a lot. I'm basically begging for it because I really want Isle merch, but this was a teaser of a shirt, obviously. And I mean, it just has the Isle logo, and that's basically that, but nothing too fancy yet, like Hyporex's on hoodies. And finally, we have this image right here, which is a giant ass tree. This basically shows how large the environment actually is. If you guys saw my gameplay on that winter map with the tiny trees, those trees aren't really to scale with what they should be. That's the thing. They're not nearly as big as what they should be, because I mean, we're giant hulking monsters. So being a human looking up at this, 10 times just height-inducing fear. It's ridiculous. Being a dinosaur looking up, probably still the same effect, but not to the same degree, because you're a lot taller and a lot bigger. Things scale incredibly in the Isle. Completely off topic, I know, but a lot of you have been asking about the ostrich, emu, whatever that you see sometimes in the background of this Isle developer's feed. I know you hear wind in the background because I have the AC on, because I was going to add this in, but now I am. It's sprinkling it, and the chat's just like, hey, peck up. What does that say about the player base if they're asking the bird to attack the handler? Come on. That's actually kind of cute. That's adorable. Okay. All right, so aside from terrifyingly huge trees that are designed to take parts of you didn't know existed, and the Recode and all that stuff, I want to talk about human consciousness and dinosaurs, and mainly putting human consciousness into dinosaurs. I've been following this theory in Isle Theories and Isle Discussions over on the official Isle Discord server. I'll leave a link in the comment section, by the way, for you guys to join the server if you would like to. So there's this theory floating around that it's kind of on the wire, but also kind of, it makes sense, if that even makes sense. The idea is that Apollo Engineering and Phoenix Corporation, two of the main big corporate entities in this whole franchise, one being Primal Carnage, I believe, and the other the Isle. But anyways, the idea is that we're taking human consciousness and implanting them into dinosaurs for testing to see if they can weaponize dinosaurs. Now that, in my mind, makes sense. And it makes sense in the fact that they're basically the perfect predator. You can clone them, put someone's consciousness in it, and then have it go out and survive in a Jurassic World for testing purposes or whatever else, and have complete control over these creatures and use them for war purposes, or really whatever it is you want to do. Now, I haven't been keeping up with the lore of the game, admittedly, too much, but I do know enough that they have the technology to do this, and they've been creating strains, and different things have been happening in the game's lore too. So it's not entirely unquestionable or can't happen. I think the technology and the lore of the game exists. It's been hinted at, I believe, in the Isle's lore as well, that something isn't right about these creatures. The idea here too is that human consciousness is controlling the dinosaur, and it's connected to an artificial intelligence. Now, we actually have this kind of stuff already in reality. We have electrodes that can control the brain of a mouse, and like, this stuff is actually documented and tested, which is also really interesting. It just intrigues me, but I don't want to hang up on this too long. But it is serious enough for me to bring up with you. I want to know what you guys think down below in the comments section, because with the Recode fast approaching, we're also approaching story-based content. And that story could very well lead into us unlocking things in the future. Now, I actually fished up an old Google Doc of all the stuff happening in the Isle, right here, as you can see. And it goes very in-depth with the title screens being, I guess, decoded, and a lot of the other stuff that you see happening. Like when you die, there's a death screen. It has different codes and stuff. They decode all of this, and all of it points down towards different theories and different things happening. Now, I want to make a note that there is a section of text that states, death is only the beginning, and this is referenced very much. The end is never the end, is never the end, is never the end, so on and so forth. And then the lockdown and, insert stuff here. There are mentions of something being replicated, and I believe consciousness being transferred. Now, whether or not that is the consciousness of an active dinosaur being transferred because it's been trained, or a human who was basically consciously implanted into a dinosaur, their consciousness was removed and put into a dinosaur, or copied and replicated into a dinosaur. Well, I don't know. It gets pretty messy, but death is just the beginning or whatever. I feel like that's either a reference for when you die, your human body, when it dies and your consciousness is transferred to a dinosaur, or even replicated into a dinosaur, well, then that's only the beginning. Also, at the V3 map on the radio tower, you can actually hear Morse code. I'm not sure if that same code is being transmitted or not, but it's pretty well constantly saying you are being controlled. And if you can see this, phase 1 has started. And that's a very strange broadcast to just put out there. Now, I don't know. It gets pretty deep into different things too, and there's different ideas here, but the general idea is that our consciousness is being replicated into a dinosaur, and the dinosaurs are being controlled thanks to that consciousness being replicated, and it's a never-ending cycle because death is only the beginning, and you can take that in 2 different bouts if you want. It's not really set in stone. Also, ignore the Mosa large marine reptile stuff. I haven't looked into this yet. I kind of just scrolled into that on accident. I don't know. I'll leave a link to this as well in the comments section. You guys can check this out if you want and look down through it. I'm going to take a couple days probably and look down through it too and see what I can fish up. So, I guess if you're a fan of the Isle, or like the Isle, or follow the content, well, you just got some pretty big treats, if I do say so myself. You got to look at the recode, the shadows, all the beautiful lighting, and things that are happening to the game. On top of that, well, we got to see what might be happening in the storyline, but there's no guarantees, nothing set in stone, and that's pretty much that. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. Maybe I'm going a little bit too far with this whole human consciousness inside a dinosaur deal, but I would not put it past Don or the dev team to have an intricate story like that. It would require a lot of knowledge, though, in how neural connections work in the mind. I don't understand it. I highly doubt you do either, unless you got straight A's in health class or whatever class you took to learn about human anatomy and the brain and all that stuff. But that's pretty much it, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Again, leave a like if you did. Let me know your thoughts down below in the comment section. And as always, I will see you in the next one.